Good evening, and welcome to the Advisory Finance Committee meeting coming to you today from the Great Hall in the Town Hall in Plymouth. This meeting is going to be conducted in a hybrid format with some participants attending physically and others attending virtually via video conference application. The meeting will be airing on Comcast 9, Verizon 47, or on the local scene streaming channel, www.youtube.com/@Plymouth Meeting SLS. Public comment, any giving public comment is allotted up to 5 minutes in which to speak. Public comment can be made at the beginning or end of each meeting or in regard to a particular agenda item the speaker wishes to be heard on. Zoom login information. Anyone who wants to attend the meeting virtually, including members of the public who wish to give public comment, can use one of the following methods to do so. Join via the Zoom application. Download the Zoom app and press or click on join, then enter meeting ID 995-2986-0638 and the meeting password of 100131. Or enter the meeting ID via the web on 995-2986-0638, and again, the meeting password is 100131. Or join via telephone, which is voice only, by dialing 929-205-6099, and again, the same meeting ID, 995-2986-0638, and the meeting password is 100131. So begin tonight's proceedings with a roll call. Ms. Butler, are you here?
I am here.
All right. Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mr. Jacinto?
Here.
All right. Ms. Keating?
Here.
I'll come back to introduce Ms. Keating more formally in just a moment. I'm here. Mr. Malaguti? All right. Ms. O'Connor?
Here.
Mr. Pizarro?
Here.
Mr. Ramey?
Here.
Mr. Renat?
Here.
Ms. Richards?
Here.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Ms. Tompkins?
Here.
Mr. Trudell?
Here.
Mr. Vecchi? Okay. All right. Well, before we get going to public comment, I'd like to introduce Brianna Keating, who was appointed last week and was sworn in yesterday, I believe, our newest member of the committee. And first of all, welcome, Ms. Keating, and if you just take a moment to introduce yourself to the committee, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. I'm Brianna Keating. I've been a Plymouth resident for about 8 years now. I work as the Director of Public Health and Prevention at a local nonprofit, so my background is in kind of public health. I've worked in homeless services before that. I have 2 young kids in the just starting the Plymouth public school system, so just as a parent and as a resident, I was looking for a way to get more engaged and contribute to the community, so thank you for having me.
Oh, great, welcome. All right, right now is the first opportunity for public comment. Is there any member attending virtually, or I don't see one here either. If not, we'll move along to the first agenda item, which is to review the minutes of August 20th. Does anyone on the committee have any additions, corrections, deletions for those minutes? Seeing and hearing none. Let's see, Ms. Butler, would you care to make a motion to approve the minutes of August 20?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 20.
And Mr. Dunn, would you care to second?
Second.
All right. So we'll now take a vote. Ms. Butler, how do you vote on the motion to approve August 2025 minutes?
I approve.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating? Great. Mr. Malaguti is not here. Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Mr. Renat?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mr. Trudell?
Yes.
And Mr. Vecchi is not here. So the motion carries
13-2.
13 with 2 not voting, so 13 unanimous. Great, okay, thank you. The first article we're hearing tonight is Article 11, to see if the town will vote to accept the revisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8D, regarding the establishment of a historical commission and to establish a Plymouth Historical Commission, or to take any other action relative thereto. And presenting is Mr. Connor Anderson, Historic Resource Coordinator for the town. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Connor Anderson, Historic Resources Coordinator for the town. So the article that I'm putting forward is to accept MGL Chapter 40, Section 8D, which will allow us to create a historical commission. A historical commission is responsible for the town-wide preservation, like historic preservation of the town, more or less. There's different ways that you can go about that, including promoting and preserving, or you can promote the town's historic resources and preserving them for a couple different avenues, whether that's partnering with local historic institutions, going into the school systems and trying to get that next generation involved. If you look at other towns, they have historic plaque programs, whereas if you go to like Duxbury or down the Cape or anything like that, you'll see on the older buildings, there's actually historic plaques showing the original owner and then the date of construction. And it may not seem like an overwhelming promotional tool, but the next person who buys that house, instead of wanting to demo that, they could look at that and say, oh, well, this has got history to it. I'm not going to do that. You can also, other communities will give tours. Like we've got the historic district, you can come up with just sort of like a self-guided tour brochure for that. The commission would handle putting forth new historic districts, or putting forth to the select board for them to establish a commission to investigate a new historic district. You look at like North Plymouth, look at down in Chiltonville. Right now we only have the one historic district, but the town's big enough that, and certainly enough history there, that you should be able to expand on that. It would serve as an advisory board to other committees and staff on historic preservation matters. Like right now with the Route 80 Cemetery project, that would be a perfect example for a historical commission to step in and work with the federal government and the state government with regulatory issues. The same thing, I know the town's looking to redo Spooner Alley. That's another archaeological site where the state's going to have to get in, and instead of having all sorts of different cemetery and DPW get involved with it, it just goes to historical commission. And the historical commission works directly with Mass Historical to get that project done. And then the last piece would be there'd be stewards of historically significant artifacts. Right now, the town has artifacts located in the municipal archives, 1749 courthouse. The town's art and history task force has their own collection, and then there's a collection over at the Plymouth Public Library in the history in the Bartlett Room. So what this would do is just have the historical commission be the stewards of all of that, as opposed to having 4 separate collections. You have one overarching Plymouth collection. So that's the gist of it. I can go into more specifics if you have questions.
Any questions for Mr. Anderson? Yes, Ms. Richards.
Good evening.
Hello.
I have, as a former archivist for the county,
Sorry.
then went to IT. Does this also include documents, or is it just artifacts?
So the town has documents in our possession that are historic. Our town meeting records go back to 1636 handwritten. Those documents, they tell the story of the day-to-day operations of the town. If we were to start a special collections where you have other different people donating things that aren't necessarily related to the day-to-day operations of the town, but are relevant to Plymouth history, that would fall under the historical commission. Otherwise, it would just be departmental, if that makes sense.
Okay. How does this overlap with Pilgrim Hall and Donner Curtin's kind of?
It's separate. It's representing of the municipal side of things. I would love to collaborate. I think it'd be a great idea for this commission to collaborate with Pilgrim Hall and other local institutions. But as far as day-to-day operations, they don't really.
No, I didn't mean like day-to-day, but like in collaborations.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you
and,
could come up with tons of
you know,
projects.
Who's going to, like, you know, who can,
Yep, that's the idea. Is,
like,
you know,
put different things on display and.
Yep.
And, you know, different display items.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Malaguti. Mr. Malaguti, can you hear me? So, Mr. Malaguti, we see your hand raised, but you're muted, and I'm thinking you can't hear us. Okay.
Hi, sorry, my screen just froze for a second, that was why. Thank you. On the Historic Commission, I came a little late for this, but is this transforming or augmenting the Historic Committee that we already have?
So the town has a historic district commission, which is a regulatory committee. They go by their guidelines as far as what you can and cannot do in the historic district. This is not a regulatory committee. This would be more of an advisory board. So they're two separate things. They could certainly work in collaboration with one another, but as far as their day-to-day, responsibilities, they're completely different.
So with this one, has this been brought before the Historic District Commission to see how this would augment them or in some ways duplicate duties? And secondly, with the advisory part, I heard you mention that it would be something that like the Route 80 cemetery could be done. How would that interact with actual departments? Because we, as a member of the Cemetery Commission, we never basically went per se to Historic District to look at this. We knew that it was a historical site and we went straight to the state for archival and other issues we may have had with the site.
So instead of you guys going straight to the state, it would go to the Historical Commission, and the Historical Commission would then deal directly with the state. Any kind of historic preservation issues that the town might come into as far as other boards or committees, it would then go through the Historical Commission. And what was the first part of your first question? I'm sorry.
So how would this augment or would it duplicate tasks for the Historic District Commission that already we have?
So like I think I answered that previously. It doesn't. They're two separate things. One of them is a regulatory committee, and the other commission, and the other one's more of an advisory commission. We do a letter of support from the Historic District Commission in favor of this article. So I guess I'm confused of what else you're looking for.
Yeah, that was my thing. I wanted to know how they weighed in on that because I didn't know if they were supportive of it, if they were against it, or if they thought it was going to duplicate efforts. That was
Nope.
That was the gist of my question. Thank you.
Full support.
Mr. Snyder, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It seems to me like this is not as complicated as it looks on all the paper we have here. It looks like a housekeeping type of thing. From what I'm seeing here in '73, we established the Historic District Commission and the Historic District, but we didn't establish the Chapter 40, Section 8D Historical Commission for the town of Plymouth. So this is just doing that.
It's housekeeping, but it's also, it'll benefit the town. But it is, in 1973, when town meeting established the Historic District Commission, they gave them, in the bylaw, the powers and responsibilities of a historical commission. Mm-hmm. The problem is that the town never accepted that MGL.
Right.
So we were giving the powers to a commission that we didn't have to begin with.
Right. So
it is housekeeping, more or less, but
yeah. We
do need to accept the act in order to do this.
No, it seems like a no-brainer here. Thank you.
All right. I'll start with Mr. Jacinto down at the end because I saw your hand first, and then we'll get to Mr. Ramey.
Excellent. Chapter 40 AD says no less than 3, no more than 7.
Yep, so it's a commission appointed by the town manager
Yeah.
and then affirmed by the select board.
How many
Yep.
would you be looking to do?
Ideally, I mean, I would love 7, but let's see if we can fill 5.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ramey.
So I have 2 questions. So with the plaques, if you go down like Leiden Street and other areas, there are houses with plaques that
Yes.
say this was first constructed and whenever. So I guess if this commission didn't exist, is it the Historic District Commission that would have put those there then? or-
So the homeowners, I believe, put them up with the approval of the Historic District Commission.
Okay,
This way, if we go this route, you would have a uniform plaque for not just in the Historic District, but everywhere in town.
to help tourism and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. Tourism and also, promote preservation of the buildings themselves. But ideally, you'd want, the demolition delay bylaw is 75 years. So if you have anything that's older than 75 years, have them eligible for a plaque as well.
Okay. And then the other question I had is like, would you be involved in permitting processes for homes and stuff, or would that?
Not at this time. We would have to change probably the demolition delay bylaw because we wouldn't get involved in the historic district at all, as far as permitting is concerned. But that'd be something down the road. So not right away.
Thank you. I'm
All
done.
right, Mr. Pizarro.
Through the chair, thank you, Connor. Just to echo back what I think I heard, the Historic District Commission and this Historical Commission, both entities will, after this is accepted, will coexist? Or will they be rolled into one?
They'd be separate entities.
There would be 2 entities. The
Yes.
Historical District
Yes.
Commission, which we already have in place, and then this new entity, the
Yes.
Historical Commission.
So when you get into smaller towns in the state, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll combine the 2.
Right.
As you get to bigger towns, they separate the 2. I think Plymouth's a large enough town with certainly enough history that we can separate the 2.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Renaud.
Yeah, just clarification. So the responsibilities you're talking about, is anybody handling those same responsibilities now?
No.
Like you said, so the plaques that someone, they would just go to
There's no, I mean, if you have plaques in the historic district, you have to go through them, but there's no program in place. Right now, the Historic District Commission, they handle the National Register of Historic Places nominations, as far as this is concerned. And I believe they work with the state agencies on some matters, but as far as everything else up there, not really right now.
All right, and then the committee that you would look to create, it's all volunteer positions?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? I have one. I'm assuming, but I don't like to assume, that there's no budget impact with the creation of, as a result of the creation of this commission, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Other than probably a little staff time.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions from the public? All right, seeing and hearing none. Let's see. Mr. Jacinto, would you care to make a motion to approve Article 11, Historic Commission?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. Keating, would you care to make a second? All right, we have a first from Mr. Jacinto, a second from Ms. Keating. Is there discussion among the committee? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll move to the vote. Oh, sorry, my bad. Go ahead, Mr. Renaud.
Just for discussion, like someone asked on the other end, I don't remember who it was, but just a clear delineation with this committee. It doesn't get into permitting, regulatory, or anything like that. I mean, it may sound a little bit skeptical, but just from my past in dealing with real estate and stuff, I just don't want another board to have to go to if I want to do something, just from a homeowner's perspective and whatnot.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Richards.
Personally, I do like the idea of this, Plymouth being the first town in the country. I think it's a great idea, working at the Registry of Deeds and archiving and being in charge of the archiving department. We're making sure that we're keeping all of our records, artifacts in check and protected. So I think this is a great idea. And I think also, plaques on all of the buildings. I think people who own those homes would be very happy to promote that. So I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Any other committee members wish to opine on this article? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Butler, how do you vote on Article 11?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating? Yes. Mr. Malaguti?
No.
All right. And your concern, Mr. Malaguti?
I don't wish to disclose.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I don't wish to disclose.
Okay, thank you. Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Mr. Renaud?
No.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mr. Trudell?
Yes.
Mr. Beck is not here, okay? So what do you got? 11 through? So 11 yes, 2 no, no abstentions. All right, next
you.
up, we have Article 13, which is appropriation of funds for water pollution abatement facility projects to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer, or borrow a sum of $400,000 for the purposes of financing the following water pollution abatement facility projects: sewer tie-ins, or the repair, replacement, and/or upgrade of septic systems pursuant to agreements between the Board of Health and residential property owners, including without limitation, the payment of all costs thereof is defined in Section 1, Chapter 29C of the General Laws, and to meet this under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or any other enabling authority, which amount may be borrowed through the Massachusetts Water Pollution Trust or otherwise, and that the Select Board is authorized to take any other action to carry out this project or take any other action relative thereto. And before I welcome Mr. Hartman, I just want to note that Mr. Malaguti arrived at 7:05 virtually. So, Mr. Hartman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Lee Hartman, Director of Planning and Development for the town of Plymouth. This is an article where we go to the state. The state has a state revolving fund for this type of thing, where we borrow money to do septic system repairs and upgrades. So this is for failed septic systems, could be also for a failed system where somebody would like to hook up to the town's wastewater system. This is the 17th time we've come to town meeting to do this, so this is something we've done very often over the years. Right now, well, first a little bit. So we borrow this money from the state at 2%. We make it available to residents at 5%. That 3% covers the cost of borrowing and the administrative costs that are involved in this program. And we will give loans of up to $35,000 to, and that's flexible, there's no cut and dry, but $35,000 loan that goes to a property owner. What happens is when they have the system to be repaired, we have a licensed building inspector on our team. We go through the whole process, go through the permitting, make sure the thing is done properly before money is spent or given to a contractor. What we're finding right now is that this summer alone, we spent about $430,000 in upgrades. So what used to maybe be a $20,000 or a $25,000 repair is now $30,000 or $35,000. So we're seeing a big uptick. We have about $400,000 left in money, but again, when we looked at how quickly we went through it this summer, we really feel it's time to authorize another borrowing of $400,000. Now, what will happen is town meeting votes this in October, and we will not borrow this money, we won't have interest charges or anything until we start to borrow. So we'll use the 400 or some odd $1,000 left now from previous town meetings to borrow. The other thing that happens is we don't borrow all 400,000 at once. We borrow it as we need it for the projects. And then once we borrow it, there's an assessment that goes, and it goes on a tax bill. So this is not a second loan or a second mortgage. This is not something that sits behind some other financial arrangement a property owner has. It is assessed on your tax bill and paid back that way. To date, we have supported about 328 systems with this program. It's a great program, and we would ask for your support so we can keep providing septic system upgrades for homeowners. And I guess the final thing I would say, this is an environmental issue. So this is failed septic systems. So you have systems that aren't functioning properly, either with water ground seeping into the groundwater, failed systems, or something that maybe is going into a wetland or other property. So this is really about taking systems that are failed and giving people the resources they may not have on their own to repair those systems. So again, we look forward to your support. Thank you.
All right, questions for Mr. Hartman? Yes, Mr. Schneider.
Not a question, but a comment. In 2 other towns where I served on the FinCom, this program was also in effect. It's an incredible program. It's a great thing because this is only for people whose systems fail.
Correct.
And they're hit with these huge bills. And if the town can provide 5% loans for these folks, it's incredibly helpful because they go to banks, it's a lot more money. Sometimes they get rejected, and this is really important for the environment and our residents. So I'm 100% in support of it.
I'll also give a plug to the Office of Community Development, which is also in my department. We also have a separate program for lower income. So we can provide at no interest, paid back at the sale of your property, loans for even lower income people. So again, anybody knows of someone with a failed system struggling, we have financial abilities to do something separate of this article for lower income people, or this is available for all residents.
Other questions for Mr. Hartman? Yes, Mr. Ramey.
When people pay the extra taxes on their tax bill, does it go back into the program or does it go back?
Yes, this is all used to pay back the loans.
So there must be more failing now than have failed in the past, and that's why.
I just think it's more expensive. I don't know if it's necessarily more. I think maybe 10 years ago, if it was a $10,000 repair, people could do it on their own. Now, when they're facing $35,000 or $30,000, it's probably more of a challenge for them to do it on their own.
Okay. Mr. Jacinto.
Would there be any way of tying in some kind of incentives to people to go with an upgraded nitrogen reducing septic?
So it's all regulated by the Board of Health, so I think
Yeah.
that would have to be a townwide requirement done through the Board of Health for everybody, not just people.
But they couldn't just select to do it, or?
And again, the last thing I'd want to do is tell somebody, well, instead of 30,000 that you didn't know was coming, now it's 40,000, good news, you know? So I think these are failed systems. They're things we'd like to get fixed sooner than later. I think if there was an issue like that, it should be townwide.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Richards?
Thank you. Is there a requirement on ownership and how long they own?
No, the only requirement is that you can't be putting your house for sale.
That's,
And what would happen is, let's just say you're acute about this and you're going to say, I'm going to sell my house in 3 months. I'm going to use this program, borrow the money, and then flip around and sell the house. Well, when you go to sell the house, you'll have to pay the money back at the sale time. So it really doesn't work. It's really for homeowners. If you bought it and you found out 3 months later, your new house, you had a failed system, you'd qualify. But again, I think if you were using it as a tool to sell your house, it won't work.
one other question. How often do you get applications to tie into the town
I
sewer?
don't know off the top of my head, but not often.
No, I
The
would
majority
expect
of people who are available where sewer is available, they're on town sewer. I don't think there's a huge number of homeowners that are on a septic system that also have town sewer near them. But again, we do make that available, and we have had, I'm going to guess, less than 5 of those, but we have had those come through. It's something we want to advertise, just in case.
And I do think this is a great program, but thank you.
All right, Ms. Butler?
been a little bit answered, but the town that I came from before, there's a sewer line and your system failed, you had to connect to the sewer line.
I do believe we have a mandatory requirement for hookup, but I would leave that to the DPW to tell you that for sure. But I know that, I believe there is a mandatory hookup in Plymouth.
Okay, and I know the problem that we had more people been on the sewer line, it would not have been a problem. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Malaguti. Mr. Malaguti. Mr. Malaguti. All right, I'll go to my right. I think, Mr. Renaud, you had a question?
So I'm assuming quite a few people apply for this. You have a backlog of applicants?
No, not at this point.
Okay,
And
so
again,
the-
we still have about $400,000 left. Just we're alarmed at how quickly we used it this year, so we want to be ready for the next batch. But no,
So-
we don't have a backlog and we have money available
And
today.
if that were to happen, or if something, do you have a way of prioritizing who you would go with, depending on
So that's
environmental
never
issues? or-
happened, and again, that's why we're here early and getting ahead of the game, so we have money available. So that's never happened, because again, as we see the money spent, we're coming in to get authorization well in advance of when we might need it.
And then do you run into any defaults on the loans?
No, well, that's the beauty of this, it's on your tax bill. So if it would be just like if you don't pay your taxes, then we put a lien on your property, and that's above and beyond anything that a mortgage might have or a second mortgage. So it's a very safe and secure way to secure the money we lend.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Malaguti.
Yes, thank you, Lee. With this program, I am fully in support of it. I do have one question. This was similar to what I believe it was Mr. Renaud talked about either changing of systems, and I'm not advocating that for right away, but as we have seen over the past couple years, especially with issues on the Cape and new state regulations for the septic systems and nitrogen fixing and all that, do you believe or anticipate in the future we may need to double the size of this program, one, to accommodate the price for those systems, but also to the massive amounts of systems that may be coming online for those changes if the state decides to hop over the bridge and give us those restrictions as well?
I think if those changes come, they're probably more like 5 years down the road. And we do have a Board of Health member here, and I do think that those types of changes, should they come, are more like 5 years down the road. And I
Okay,
did have
thank
a
you.
head nod from him.
All right, any further questions, Mr. Malaguti?
That is all, thank you.
All right. Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Renaud.
I'm assuming, do you only work with certain excavation companies or septic companies? They have to, it's almost like a mass save loan, they have to be,
We do have a list, but if somebody wants to work with somebody else, that's fine too. So it's, and again, you're starting to ask me questions that are beyond what I do. There is a list of vendors that we use, and I think if somebody wanted to be on that list, they should contact us. We could put them on the list, but there's no requirement that they can pick their own people too.
okay, thank you.
All right.
We do, I should say, we do like to get 3 quotes, look at those 3 quotes and make sure we have something in that range. And if somebody wants to use somebody else with a higher quote, they're going to be responsible for the difference.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Hartman regarding Article 13? All right, seeing and hearing none, any public comment on Article 13? Seeing none in the room, seeing none virtually. Let's see. Mr. Malaguti, would you care to make a motion to approve Article 13?
Motion to approve Article 13.
All right, Ms. O'Connor, would you care to second that?
Seconded.
All right. Is there any discussion among the committee? Yes, Mr. Pizarro.
Yes, through the chair, as a member of the Board of Health, I can tell you that we see many variances and many times where septic systems have failed, primarily cesspools, which are just the term cesspool, moving to a Title V septic system is a great, and this is a great program, right? So I fully support it. We see it all the time at the Board of Health, and I think it's a great opportunity and resource for Plymouth citizens that have this, that can just, that don't have that need to borrow money or funds to upgrade their septic systems. It's a great program, so I'll be voting yes for this.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the committee? All right, well, then I will call for the vote. Ms. Butler, how do you vote on Article 14?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Mr. Renaud?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mr. Trudell?
Question. Did I hear you say Article 14? Because we're on Article 13.
Article 13, my bad. We're voting on Article 13.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, the vote's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Hartman, and we will now move on to Article 14. Plymouth zoning bylaw, section 206.6, multifamily overlay district, and to amend the official zoning map. To see if the town will vote to amend the Plymouth zoning bylaw, section 206.6, multifamily overlay district, and to amend the official zoning map, sheet 2, multifamily overlay district, by adding lot 28A on the assessor's map 104 and removing lots A232, 10-418, 10-500, 10-501, and 10-502 on Assessor's Map 77D, as well as amend Section 2013, parentheses, definition of family, as on file with the town clerk, or take any other action relative thereto. So again, Mr. Hartman.
Thank you.
Planning
So
Board.
some of this may seem a little familiar if you were here last year. So the state adopted this law called the MBTA Communities Law, and it says, and it mandates that every town that is in the MBTA area, and Plymouth is one of those, must put zoning in place that allows by right multifamily units at 15 units per acre. And they've made it clear, and the courts have made it clear, that this is enforceable, and if the town does not comply with this law, that there would be legal consequences. So when we did this previously, the state has a very complex model. We hired the Barrett Planning Group to assist us through the process. The town identified 4 locations for where we thought MBTA community zoning could go. The Barrett Planning Group ran the model. The model stated that we were in compliance. And I should point out the areas we picked and the areas town meeting adopted are really superimposed already on areas that have already had residential development. The thing we heard as we went through the process, and I hear every day, is when we look at all the residential development that keeps occurring in this town, that we've done our fair share. Let's take credit for what we already did, and let's not look at zoning even more property for yet more residential development in the town.
Mr. Hartman, do you have those slides in your deck that we have in the handout? Can you put those up, please? The maps?
Well, yeah, so we'll go through.
Okay, great.
But, so this, yeah. So again, so we went through the model, and the model said we complied, and the areas that we had were Cottage Park, Sawyer's Reach, and Colony Place neighborhood. The Oasis 40B development, which is off of Home Depot Drive, and then the Pine Hills, a portion of the Pine Hills property. So we went through this, and a year later, so we approved it at town meeting, Attorney General approved it, and a year later, the state came back to us and said, well, there's this other compliance piece that's not in the compliance model, and it says that at least half of your district has to be contiguous. And we want you to go back to town meeting and make half of the property, half of your zone contiguous. So we went back with Barrett Planning Group, we looked at it, and we looked at how do we make 50% contiguous, what can we do to adjust it. They also said, and on 2 or 3 different occasions now, the Attorney General has scolded us for our definition of family, And they also said that when we looked at our bylaw we did for MBTA communities, they wanted us to make it clear that absolutely no special permits are required as part of it. So we went through and we looked at that. And what we're recommending and we came up with is that we're going to add the Westwood Village neighborhood to the Colony Place development, Colony Place overlay district. So the existing district right now is the Sawyer's Reach property, the recently approved, used to be Claremont, called it Avalon, now it's Canso 40B, which is right here, and then the Hanover 40B development. So this is all already developed residentially. And so this is Route 80 right here. This is Commerce Way. The Taco Bell is over here. Colony Place is here. So this is the last, this is a special permit 55 and older community located just adjacent to the other 55 and older community that is already in the zone. So we're proposing to add Westwood Village to the district and remove a portion of the district that we had, so we have that 50% contiguous. So we made this one a little smaller. So this is the market right here in the Pine Hills. The fire station is here, and we're removing the piece, the Brizzuto multifamily next on the common, and then some of the other development land that made it contiguous. So this piece comes out, and this piece gets added. So we met with the executive board of Westwood Village and explained to them what we were doing. And then they asked us to come back to a neighborhood meeting. So we had a second neighborhood meeting with Westwood Village, and they had no objections to what was being proposed. And again, there are two text changes you'll see. One is the definition of family, and we've been yelled at before for our definition as being unconstitutional. So we're cleaning up the language of what a family is that is consistent with recent court decisions. And then we added a very minor additional language that basically says that when you are doing a multifamily development, that there shall be no special permits at all. And just to point out, if we fail to do this, then we're no longer competitive for one-stop growth, used to be called Mass Works grants, Housing Choice grants, and Capital Fund Project grants. In addition, the state has said all of these other grants are grants that we will no longer be competitive with if we don't comply with the Housing Choice MBTA communities law. And then just shows you some of the grants we've had recently, how much that means to the town. So in the end, when we do this, we're going to be pretty much where we are today. We're going to superimpose this development over a special permitted neighborhood. They've already exercised their special permit. It's not like they could ever do anything else because it's governed by that permit. So we're going to do a little shuffle here so we meet the technical compliance of the law and move on. So again, hopefully we would ask for your support of this zoning change. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Hartman on Article 14? Yes, Mr. Jacinto.
Why remove the Pine Hills?
Because the law says 50% has to be contiguous. So if we kept it, then we'd have to have an even bigger district.
Oh, that makes sense.
Making one a little smaller, the other a little bigger, so that one's 50%. And again, if we had kept it, then this one would have to even have been bigger.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for your work and the planning board.
All right, Mr. Ramey, I think, was next.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Snyder was next.
sorry.
So you mentioned that one of the groups you talked to agrees with it, I forgot the name of it that you mentioned.
Westwood Village.
Right. Have you checked with Cordage, Home Depot
Those
Drive?
are already in the district already. All we're doing is adding this one piece. Those are already in the district that we
Okay,
approved.
so have you talked to Pine Hills about adding the one piece?
We're removing the Pine Hills.
What?
We're removing we already, previously, town meeting approved it. We're making the Pine Hills one smaller. We're making this one bigger. So the only thing that's being added is the Westwood Village, and I have met with them. The Pine Hills one is smaller, so we did not, I assume they'd be fine with it becoming less intrusive, but we did in 2024, when we went through this, we had a considerable amount of outreach in the community about the zoning that we did put in place over Cordage, over Pine Hills, and over the 40B at Home Depot. So all we're doing tonight, or all we're asking for tonight, I should say, is to just simply add the Westwood Village one to the district, that's all.
Yeah, I'm never comfortable when a state or federal government tells me I must do something, or they'll take my money.
Yep.
I don't
I
like
would
it.
agree
It makes me
completely.
very uncomfortable, and I don't like it.
I would agree with you 100%. This is a very intrusive law that's been shoved down the throats of a bunch of communities, including Plymouth. And it has not been a fun process to work through, but it is mandated and we must comply. So I agree.
All right, Mr. Dunn, and then I'll get to you, Mr. Ramey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I agree with Mr. Snyder. I think that that's not a good thing when the federal government or the state says that. But so long story short is this isn't going to change much of what's in any of these locations. It's just a change in zoning that will put us in compliance so that the state won't sue us, correct?
Correct. So this, and again, we're adding this neighborhood that's already subject to a special permit. They've exercised that special permit. They cannot, even if they wanted to, do anything with this overlay district.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Ramey.
Is this going to have any impact on the Cordage Park rail station?
But that's already there.
No, I know,
No,
reopening.
so
or-
the scary part is, right now, our number is 2,407 units is the number that the state has said we must have zoning for. So it doesn't mean we have to build a single unit, we just have zoning in place that could allow hypothetically for that. If the train station opens, we go from 2,400 to 4,200. So if the train station opens, we'll be back before this group with a very difficult decision to make. So it's ironic that the state is encouraging us not to open our train station because of the potential impacts it would have in the North Plymouth area if that train station opened.
Interesting.
My first defense in that case is if they did open the train station is to ask them to respect the fact that we did this and honor us as what they call us now as a non-commuter rail station, and respect the fact that we had this and not make us do it all over just because the station opened. But again, this is a law that is very, very strict. So it would be interesting if that ever comes about.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ms. Tompkins.
Thank you. In the article, it says the law requires no age restrictions, but Westwood Village has an age restriction. If you could just clarify.
It's the craziest part of this law. The law says you don't have to build it. It doesn't matter what's already there, but you can't be age restricted. And by the way, you can't have more than 10% affordable. So they don't want you to make it affordable, but it doesn't matter what's there already. They just said you have this hypothetical zone that you put over. So other towns have zoned areas that could be developed. And in that case, you would not be able to say this has to be 55 and older. Well, what Plymouth has chosen to do is to superimpose it already over places that were developed. And again, as I explained last year, we are taking credit for the multifamily development we already did. So there is no age restriction in this bylaw. It doesn't matter that what's there now is age restricted.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Hartman? All right, any questions from the public? Seeing and hearing none, present or virtually. All right, Mr. Pizarro, would you care to move Article 14, Plymouth zoning bylaw amendment?
So moved.
All right, and Mr. Ramey, would you care to second?
I second the motion.
All right, great. We have a first from Mr. Pizarro. We have a second from Mr. Ramey. Is there any discussion among the committee? Seeing and hearing no interest, we'll call the vote. Ms. Butler, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti?
No.
All right, Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Mr. Renaud?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
No.
Ms. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mr. Trudell?
Yes.
All right. I think we have 11 yes, 2 no, no abstentions. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hartman.
Thank you.
And now, last but not least, we have Mr. Bulletin from the Planning Board to talk about Article 15, Tax Title Property Transfer, to see if the town will vote to transfer the care, custody, management, and control of the parcels listed below is on file with the town clerk from the town treasurer for tax title purposes to the Conservation Commission for conservation purposes pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8C, subject to existing drainage easement on Lot 8 of Assessor's Map 60, and an access easement for the Plymouth Fire Department to Jake's Pond, Map 114, Lot 000, and to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow a sum of $12,500 for funding of legal title work for said conveyances, and further to authorize the Conservation Commission to execute any and all instruments as may be necessary to effectuate the vote taken hereunder or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Bolin.
Good evening, everyone. Steve Bolleton, with me, Bruce Howard. We are here on behalf of the Open Space Committee tonight. So we are asking for your support on Article 15. Article 15 proposes that 10 tax title properties already owned by the town be transferred to the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. As indicated, these properties were selected very specifically based upon their unique aspects and how valuable they are to certain aspects of long-time Plymouth open space and environmental concerns. So what should be stressed again is that these are properties already owned by the town. The funds that are being requested, just a modest $12,500, is to ensure that all of the title searches, deed preparation, and recording are done in conjunction. This is something that was done in order to address a prior problem that we've had, which is that for many years, both the Open Space Committee has presented these tax title properties to town meeting. Town meeting has approved the transfer of these, and we have a long backlog on them, but no money was ever appropriated to actually do the work, to do the title searches, and to prepare and file the deeds. And I know we have a long backlog of those, and I actually have an update from Mr. Hartman just earlier today, so I'll add that to this to give the committee an update on that. Of the original backlog of 617 properties, 48 have been recorded, 23 have title searches and deeds completed and are ready to be recorded, 279 are in process, meaning that council is working on the title searches and preparing the recording documents. So that does leave 267 that remain to be processed, but those mostly reflect small, undevelopable, landlocked properties. So we have been prioritizing those properties that have the greatest potential to be turned into something other than what was intended, that being conservation land. And Ms. Richards raised a question earlier, and I'm going to answer that so the committee has that as well. What we say here in our article as we talk about it is that current town policy for tax title property conveyances which include auction sales are subject to a deed restriction such that no primary structure be constructed, such as a dwelling, but ancillary structures, septic systems, pools, sheds, etc., would be allowed. That does not apply when we move this into conservation. So when this is moved into conservation, no further structures can be put on other than these are conveyed with existing structures being accepted. None of these have housing on them, but to the extent that there might be a sewer line running underneath or some other sort of easement that's required, they are being conveyed subject to the easements. And we've made reference here. Specifically, we have a couple that require easements for emergency services. But beyond that, no new structures will be done. These are being placed into the protection of conservation for open space environmental purposes. So you'll see that again, there are 10 properties, but we're only asking for funds for 5 filings. The properties are grouped together based upon the fact that they are related properties. So that's the issue you'll see there. So that's if there's a question as to why it's 10 properties, but it's only 12.5, it's because some of these properties are grouped together and therefore the filing would go together. The deeds would be prepared including 3 or 2 unit through 2 parcels, and they'd be filed that way. So let me very briefly take you through some of these parcels. We have Mountain Hill Road, a lovely area, and this is of particular value because it creates easier access to protected open space, existing open space, which is something that the residents have been very adamant as part of the master plan process. They've said they want in our open space. So here's where it is. You can see there's a connection from a road into a large conservation area, 180 acres of town and state conservation lands. Additionally, there's protected global rare habitat in there. It's a good property for open space purposes. Now, I know the question often gets raised, well, look at the assessment and why is this something that we are doing as open space versus putting it back on the market? In this particular instance, we've looked very carefully at this particular property and we really don't understand the assessment. The assessment is, while this is technically a buildable lot, there are topographical challenges and a town drainage easement, which essentially make this almost impossible to build something on. That's why it ended up in the town's custody in the first instance. It's not something, again, you would look at other residences around it and you'd say, well, this is a large parcel, it's easily developable, so it would have been built on. It's not easily developable. It's in fact, challenging is being a very generous statement when it comes to that. So that's how it ended up in the town's possession. Next property we're looking at, or parcels we're looking at, are Beaver Dam Road. And these are 3 parcels located right along Beaver Dam Road, adjacent to the Foothills Preserve, which is adjacent to the Tidmarsh Conservation Area. This provides just an open space buffer between the roadway and our existing walking trails and hiking trails. It's a nice piece of open space. It's not something that could be built on otherwise, but nonetheless is something that, again, we would like to just make sure is preserved and part of existing open space so that we're clear that nobody can go in there and do anything, whether that's clearing for easements or other ways. We're just protecting that space. And so here's where that's located. And again, you can see that's obviously Beaver Dam Road. It's located between the Pine Hills and Manomet. Next here, we have the Jakes Pond Spinnaker Drive properties. As the article notes, these parcels were originally designated as open space for the Landmark Estates subdivision. However, that association failed to actually do something with this in terms of creating a separate lot and paying for the taxes on it. So it came to the town in 1995, January of 1995, I believe, is when we actually took ownership of this. So this is an effort to ensure that land that was always intended to be open space actually does remain open space. It is a relatively significant piece of land, and it certainly could have been developed if it were not originally designated as part of the open space of this subdivision. But that said, this will ensure that the intent of the property is preserved, along with providing a means of public access to the pond. And that's necessary as well, just given that we have to maintain a fire department easement to access the pond as well. And so here you can see that, again, it's a rather odd-shaped parcel. So you have one section that could be developed off the road, the remainder of which falls behind a number of homes and along some very narrow stretches. So again, not a developable parcel from practical standpoint, but certainly always intended to be open space. Next, we have the Blueberry Road parcels. These parcels create an irregular shaped, which is almost exclusively within conservation zones, making it neither desirable nor practical to develop, which explains the low assessment value. This also provides public access to pond-side areas and protection of rare species habitats. And again, we look at this odd shape, and it's not something that's easily accessible from anywhere, but nonetheless creates a means by which we can keep this as open space and protect these important habitats. And next on our list, we have Bourne Road. This is an interesting parcel because the majority, as we'll see here, of the lot is actually in the middle of the pond. It's always amazing how we end up creating these things, but nonetheless, you've got a significant amount of the lot is technically Little Rocky Pond. It makes it impossible for development. Essentially, it's all wetlands, but it is obviously very desirable for public access to the pond and to access existing conservation areas. And that is the grouping that we have.
Just like to add one thing too. Before this gets to this level, in-house, we look at these properties. Are they available for affordable housing? Could affordable housing work here? Is there something DPW needs, something for a highway? Is there something for drainage, something maybe for economic development? So we look at all that, and when the conclusion is that really the best use for this property is to permanently protect it, that's when it comes here. So there is a process we go through also to just see, are there other uses that we're missing before we actually say, yes, let's bring it to town meeting for conservation.
So questions for Mr. Bolton, starting with Ms. Butler.
Thank you. I went to Jake's Pond, and I have pictures. My pictures are different than yours, though. Well, that one's the same, but the one where you showed the whole lot with the other lots, that's different than what you gave us.
In what way?
What you're showing, the street?
Yeah, so it's hard to see, but it's this piece.
Yes.
Kind of shows the pond.
Right.
Does follow it all. The only thing it doesn't show is the outline of the pond. But if you look at this piece here, that's that piece to the right, this piece here, piece to the left. That piece is the one up top. The only thing it doesn't highlight as well is the pond itself.
I want you to talk.
All right, why don't you repeat that, please?
Repeat every word of that.
All right, well, okay.
So when you look at the map you have, the only thing that really is different is the pond itself. So also just, this is Bourne Road right here, just so we know kind of where we are. So what you look at, this piece right here follows very nicely. That piece there, that little triangle is this triangle here. That piece is this piece adjacent to the pond. This has red around the pond. I don't know why, but it wouldn't be part of it. And then this piece here is this piece. So it does follow. The only thing that's different is, for some reason, this one has this outline here versus yours, which does not.
Okay, well, it's not mine, but it's...
Yes.
Yes, okay. I would say that it was a nice piece of property in a neighborhood. As I said, I brought pictures. There were some stairs going down. There were some benches that were up at the top there. It would be something that'd be very nice. It'd be a time we could give back to the... All right. Yes, Bruce.
Good evening. Bruce
Good evening.
Howard, Open Space. I've visited this property several times, and each time I've picked up a tremendous amount of trash.
Yes, there was definitely trash there.
So it's important that we preserve this property and limit the access to just the fire department when they need emergency access to draw water from Jake's Pond. But I think this is a really good addition to our open space.
But if there's trash there, that means that people are just going there and using it, whereas if someone was living there, there'd be no trash there.
That's because the gate is left open. So we need to work with the fire department to lock that gate so that cars cannot drive down from, I think it's Spinnaker Drive, down to Jake's Pond. So putting it under conservation will allow us to take additional actions.
I'm not sure, we were on a road when we parked the car and we just walked in. There was no gates there.
There is a gate on Spinnaker Drive.
Oh.
So there's access points from a couple of spots. but the area that Bruce is talking about is the one there off of Spinnaker, and that actually has a driveway down. That's where the fire department access is. That also gets a lot of inappropriate traffic, as it were, and we do need to, so these protections are not just for the open space aspect, but certainly give the town a little bit more of a defined role in terms of what it should or should not be doing with this property. As I said, this comes with a fire department easement. The fire department can certainly put a lockbox or an appropriate notice on there as to how they're going to get in, but to make sure that they're also preventing others from getting vehicular traffic in there. Again, the goal is that it will be public open space, so people certainly have the right to walk in and visit. And you're right, we probably should be doing more to protect from late night inappropriate activity. But as we have always discovered when we talk about our 365-ish number of ponds, there's a lot of space to cover and not enough bodies to do it. So hopefully by putting this into conservation and giving a lot of the groups that normally take pride in protecting these areas that additional incentive by having it as conservation land, we'll be doing a better job in terms of protecting it.
There's a boat right on the shore there. So they're really enjoying it. I would just like to see some piece of land come back to the people in Plymouth with money. That's all. We seem to be just putting everything in conservation. That's all.
So this land could never be developed. It's all adjacent to wetlands, it's all within resource areas, so even if we decided to put this up for auction for a single-family home, it could not be developed. I would also point out that I know that having conservation land in your backyard increases the value of all the other abutting properties. So there is a benefit for taxes by doing this because somebody now knows that they have permanently protected wetlands and wetlands property in their backyard. So that helps the adjacent property values. But even if we put this up for auction, it would not be suitable. First of all, the policy is not to make it available for yet one more house in a town that has already too many houses. But even if it was, it wouldn't be buildable.
Thank you.
Mr. Malaguti.
Yes, thank you. So I have a little bit of the same feelings as Ms. Butler, not about putting it on the market for another home, but I have it for the access for the public. I know that you're talking about a gate to close it off for vehicular traffic, but what if people wanted to visit that site that are not abutting neighbors to it, that they may live a few streets over, or they may live in another part of town but want to access that part? Are there stipulations on at least a couple or so parking spaces for them to use that, or is it just using the fire department's right of way? And also, if there are those tables and the stairs there, is the town liable to continuously maintain that beach area as well too?
Addressing your first question, so parking for trailheads is not something that is prohibited based on the conservation restriction. We have many trailheads at our various conservation areas. In fact, by putting this into conservation land, it does create a process by which we can create some parking spaces so that this is an area that people who are not immediately from the neighborhood can go to and enjoy. That's one of the things that the Open Space Committee has been very active in doing, is making sure that as we create these, we look at spaces that are intentionally focused on giving the community access to areas that they otherwise don't normally get access to. These are not, this is not some parcel deep in the woods that no one will ever see. There's value to that, but these are not those parcels. These are the parcels designed, again, we looked at these very specifically with the idea that these are means of access to or parking for other areas of open space or areas of, particularly where we have access to waterfront, any of the ponds. We always focus on those as a primary concern because that's what Plymouth is known for. We want to make sure that our community has access to these types of open spaces. And the more that we can make that an amenable thing for our community, the better we're off. So the easier we can make it to get to, the easier we can make it to park at, and the easier we can make it to maintain, those are the things we focus on. In terms of things like stairs, we do have the Trails Working Group, which is given that name because most of what they do is trails, but that's underselling them, because what they really do is they are really an open space maintenance crew that takes care of all sorts of aspects of our open space. That would include things like stairs, that includes trails, that includes all sorts of areas that they look at to make sure that public access is as free and safe as possible. And so, again, it's something that will be part of the normal maintenance and routine of our open space, is to look at those areas and either maintain stairs if that's appropriate, or take stairs out and create a normal walkable trail. It's how best to use the property so that it meets both the open space needs and community accessibility.
Thank you. The only reason I brought that up was as chair of the Natural Resources and Coastal Beaches Committee, I have the same aspect as the Open Space Committee of providing as much access to the public as possible to our water bodies and parks. And that was why I raised the question, because there was talked about locking the gate there, basically preventing some access to it. And that's why I wanted to make sure that parking was ensured for people that were outside of the immediate area that they could get to. If we don't need to create it because we just have to leave the gate open and lock it at certain hours, and that's one thing. But if not, then we need to create at least some parking for other vehicles to go there.
Well, I appreciate that. One of the concerns, of course, though, is we have to make sure that the easement for the fire department is not blocked by, if that gate is left open and people are just randomly parking there and the fire department needs access, they may have to be ramming vehicles to get out of the way. That's not something that we want to have happen. We can provide parking outside of the gated area or locate the gate in a different way so that parking is strictly away from the area that needs to be accessed.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Yeah, Mr. DeCento.
Were the abutters to the property notified of the changes?
Again, I don't think we communicate with that, because all we're doing is we're taking town property and moving it from one department to another. Again, no, I've never heard a neighbor complain that we're taking property and putting it into open space.
Yep.
As Mr. Hartman mentioned, this does nothing but enhance the value of property, and in the general sense as well, it also means that the town is paying attention to it and more things happen in a positive way for them. New trailheads are put in, parking areas are put in so that people aren't parking in your driveway instead to access this. People are paying attention to the fire department easement, which means at the same time as well, they're avoiding the illegally parked vehicles. So it's not something that the town has ever done, but again, it's also not something we've ever had a complaint about.
Yeah, the only thing I thought of was when he said that, it enhances your property value, which would also enhance your tax bill. So if it would surprise someone that, like, oh, I have conservation behind my house now, and that's great, but it also hits my wallet, so.
Well, I'd have to say that you're not automatically reassessed merely because there's conservation land. So I think, again, there's been town space behind them. So, and this was, again, never something that was built on or intended to be built on. So I don't think that would change it dramatically. This is really more of an administrative matter for the town so that we can do what we need to do, file our appropriate protections, and that way we can then maintain it in an appropriate manner.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Snyder.
Yeah, I think that anytime that you can preserve land is a good thing, and it's not only good for us humans, but it's also good for the animal world as well, and I 100% support this.
Any other questions for Mr. Boland? Yes, Mr. Renaud.
So the land's already owned by the town. Is the legal fees, is that just quitclaim deeds from one? owner to another.
Title searches just to verify that nobody else has snuck in and tried to create some interest in there, and then quitclaim deeds and conservation restrictions. Yes.
So what we do is, the vote of town meeting permanently protects us. It's subject to Article 97, it's conservation land, and I like to say that's as forever as you can get. What we do is we do a title search and then put an affidavit on record stating that town meeting has voted to permanently protect this land. The problem we have right now is you could vote this, and 20 years from now, good luck trying to find the vote where this land was protected. So the goal is to put a document on record, an affidavit that says that this is conservation land, so that 100 years from now, if somebody does a title search, there's a record on the title that says this is conservation land.
Great, thank you.
Other questions from the committee? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, hearing none. All right, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Renaud, would you care to make a motion to approve Article 15, tax title property transfer?
So moved.
All right. And Ms. Richards, would you care to second that?
I will second that.
All right. We have a first from Mr. Renaud, a second from Ms. Richards. Is there any discussion among the committee? Ms. Richards?
I think anytime that, and I'm going to piggyback on Mr. Snyder's remarks, anytime we can grab land around our ponds and waterways in this era of our waters being compromised is a huge, huge thing. And I would look to continue doing that. So that is, I would highly support this motion. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else wish to comment from the committee? All right, seeing and hearing none, I call the vote. Ms. Butler, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
All right, Mr. Dunn had to leave the meeting at 7:45 for a work-related matter. Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti? Mr. Malaguti?
Yes, sorry.
It's okay. Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Mr. Renaud?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mr. Trudell?
Yes?
All right, I think we have 11 yes and zero no votes, no abstentions.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 12.
All right, 12, I can't count apparently. All right, so the motion carries. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. All right, this is the last opportunity for public comment. Does anybody, don't see anyone in the room who wishes to speak, and no one virtually. So before we move to our favorite motion of the night, updates on school committee liaison and other committee liaison forum is postponed until next week. A reminder, we have 2 meetings next week, one on Wednesday the 10th and one on Thursday. And we are set to meet on the 17th as well. So is there any further comment from the public? None? All right, so for my favorite motion of the night, I think we turn to Mr. Snyder. Would you care to move to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, and Ms. Tompkins, would you care to second that?
Seconded.
We have a first, we have a second. Is there any discussion about adjourning? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Butler, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating? Yes. Mr. Malaguti?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Pizarro?
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro? Although Ms. works, I think, too. Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Mr. Renaud?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mr. Trudell?
Yes.
All right, motion is unanimous. We're adjourned at 20 minutes after 8 o'clock. Good evening, folks.